Hello, it's Spelk from Sugar Free Gamer. I'm here to have a crack at doing one of these Let's Play videos. It's my first time, so bear with me. I've decided to give Piercing Fortress Europa a chance at being the #1 slot, and if we take the Sicily campaign, which is the Allied invasion of Sicily in 1943. It's a 16-turn sort of tutorial scenario in the game, and if I set it up with a handicap level to favour the Allies, just to make it a gentle introduction. I'm not here to test myself against the AI. This is just I just want to go through the motions and enjoy the mechanics and the conflict, and hopefully people who haven't seen the game or people who are new to wargaming can watch along and get a feel for it, what computer wargaming is all about. So, if we start the game up, the Allied orders phase. Here's the map. It's fairly basic, but I mean it's a pleasant map to look at. Hex and chit wargame. We've got Sicily with its with these ports, Gala, Catania, Syracuse, and Palermo right at the top. If we take in the victory conditions, you can see we need to take control of Messina, Palermo and Syracuse, and we need to basically hold them until the 16 turns are over, and that will give us a decent victory. The ports down in this southern end for the Allied invasion are quite important, I think, because a lot of the supplies come in through the ports. That's the only way most of your supplies get through. So strategy, and here, this stack down the bottom here is that they're my Allied units, is to basically take these ports in the south and push as best I can up to Messina and right through the entire length up to Palermo. And obviously that's the sort of strategy that historically it was followed. So it makes sense to capture the ports for the supply and to push for the other areas. So let's take a look at the units. This stack's quite a large stack. We've got British troops. If you look up here, it tells you the troop name and quite a lot of details about the troop. The chits themselves have got quite a lot of information on them that looks complicated, but really there's only a few key bits of information you need to take from the chits, and you've got the NATO symbol for the unit. So this is a paratrooper unit. You've got this special identifier in the top left hand corner, the P, which indicates it's a paratroop unit. You've got other identifiers such as the M for the mountain troops and things like that. The yellow circle is it's basically the physical size of the unit. So they call it the stack, and it's basically how many troops are in that unit, in that division. You've got the tiny yellow triangle in the top right hand corner pointing downwards. That is the troop quality, and it's indicated on a colour basis. So green would be top of the range, tough veteran type unit. Then you go down through yellow and red and black is no good. And similarly, you've got an triangle in the bottom right hand corner that denotes combat supply, and again your combat supplies denoted by colour. So green, they're ready to go, they've got everything they need to fight. Yellow, they're a bit limited. Red, they're very limited. And black, they're completely ineffective. They have no supply, they can't do anything. So you don't want units totally out of supply. And finally, sorry, you've got the designation of the unit. So this is the British first. So you've got the 1 by the side of the NATO symbol. The bottom left-hand side, it actually shows you troop strength, the first number, and then in brackets that's the maximum troop strength. So you can see that the British first paratroopers are at their maximum strength. They're not too bad in terms of troop quality, and they've got a bit of supply to begin with. So up here there's a few more details. So their efficiency is 7. I think that's based on supply and quality and disruption and things like that. Anyway, we'll get into it. So let me show you the where is it? The supply. There you go. Supply and fuel status. You can see you get the figures of total strength and split into 10 infantry units, 3 armament. You've got there's a slider that allows you to adjust whether fuel is the priority or combat supply is the priority. And then down here you've got basically the way you get troops onto the island. You can either use sea transport or you can parachute them in, airborne drops. Currently we've got 30 points of sea transport, and those points relate to the stack points of the unit. So if a unit has 3 stack points, you would transport them in on a boat, and you would use 3 of those sea transport points. That's my understanding of the mechanics. So the size of the unit does affect how many transport boats you can get rolling. So similarly, airborne drops. There is the ability to purchase extra transport if you need it, or extra airborne drops, but that is usually at the cost of fuel to get them over there. So I'll just leave that as is for this scenario. Right. So I think what I'm going to do is take these paratroopers and do a paradrop, and I'm going to screen Gala. I'm going to ship in some troops to the port to take it and secure supply into the island, and these paras are going to basically ward off any enemy as they try and enter the port. Right. So, as you can see, the 5th, they're not bad troops. 12 out of 12. So I think we'll invade amphibiously and get them onto the port. We leave those guys for a minute. And we get the 50th in to support, and there's some armour. Not much of it, but we'll ship that in as well. You will notice that once you've placed your order on the map, the unit chit gets a red line on top to show you that you've planned what you're going to do with that unit. This game runs simultaneous WEGO resolution, I think they call it. So it's not me first, you next, I go, you go style thing. It's you plan out what you want to do, and then the game resolves both sides at the same time. So this is just planning out what I want to do with my units. Now, this stack has the British, it has a couple of Canadian support units, and the US. So what I'm going to do is take the US paratroopers, the 82nd, and we're going to paradrop them just in front of Catania. Now we'll get some US troops shipped in, I think. The US first, we'll land them at Catania, and I do find the left click then right click cycle a bit fiddly to begin with. Let's get some armor, US armor down there, the second, and well, we may as well ship in some more US infantry. You can see that the 45th, their troop quality is red, which means they're not as good as the second or the first, but really we'll use those troops to sort of defend the ports and shore the place up. Drop that in. Okay. So if we go to, we can see the supply and how much of the sea transport we've used up. So I've got 12 points left to ship some in. So what should I do? I think I'll get some Canadians in, and we'll put the Canadians in Syracuse and they can hold that. In theory, this southern, I don't know whether it's a peninsula, but this southern part of the island, if we can keep this free of enemy, if we can fight them out, we've pretty much guaranteed our supply routes, and as long as we can hold out, we can make pushes along this road to Messina, because we need to take that, and we also need to go straight through the middle, northwards, through Enna and up to Palermo, because we need to take Palermo, Messina and Syracuse. These Gela and Catania are sort of purely for supply rather than for winning the scenario. So, how are we doing? Let's check supply again. We've got 9 points. So I think we should get another Canadian unit in. Let's oh, my fault. Let's get Canadian armor. Can we do that? No. Oh no. Okay. We can't. Okay, we can't ship in any other units. None of them are showing amphibious invasion, so we'll just have to leave it at that. and then we can just check out the Air Force orders. Now, I'm not entirely sure how this affects enemy movement and enemy interdiction of our movement, but at the minute we've got our Air Force. We've got 10 assigned to superiority, 10 to ground, and none to interdiction. You can, if you change one, the others all fill up or go down. So depending on the balance of air that you want, you can fiddle with the sliders. I'm not really sure how that plays out. I need to read the manual a bit more. So I'm just going to leave that currently at what it is. Oh, actually, let's go with 12 on air superiority. Hopefully that'll keep the enemy air out of the area while we get these guys landed. I think, to be honest, if you don't have superiority, then it's difficult to get your paradrops in without them being sort of fended off. So, okay. This is a bit long-winded, but the last thing I'll look at is the workers at the ports, and until we take the ports, there is none. But you can, once you've secured the ports, you can assign workers, any available workers, to different ports to boost the supply coming in and out of the port. So there is a sort of a resource management thing going on, even though it's sort of a basic level with the supply and getting them to the troops. Obviously, the most important bit is the fighting. Right, let's do the turn. Yes. Okay, so we've encountered the Italian 207th at Gala Port, and our 3 British divisions that have landed have successfully made the attack. We've killed off 8 Italian troops, disrupted them. So we continue. Okay. Airborne operation cancelled due to lack of air superiority. Obviously, we didn't have enough minerals in the sky, and I'm afraid our paratroopers haven't been dropped. Okay, the 5th. Yep, they're the guys who went to Gala. There's quite a lot of these notification dialogues. It's not the best UI in terms of giving you the information without poking it in your face, but I mean, you get used to it. Canadians have landed, the US have landed. Obviously, the US paras have been cancelled, and the 207th have been eliminated. Catania has fallen to the Allies, Gala has fallen to the Allies, and Syracuse has fallen to the Allies. Excellent. Okay, so we've got the German first, Fallschirmjäger. Misses. The Allied orders. Right. Okay, so we can now see enemy units on the map. We've made our invasion. We're on the island, but now we've got motorized German troops and Italian infantry with stack values. We can see the stack values because we get an estimate of how big they are, but obviously we can't see any of their troop quality, their supply, or any of those details. But you can sort of get an idea as to size of the units that you're up against. So, what do we do now? Okay, I think it's quite important to get our paras in. So if we can drop all ground support and boost air superiority, I want to I want to drop in my paratroops. So let's get the US paratroops in. And I can drop them in there, next to that German unit. Give them something to think about. I always do that. Right. Get the British paras in. I'll drop them there, I think, to start and worry these Italians. And how much? Okay, we've still only got 9. Okay, still only got 9 supply. Not supply. 9 transport points. But we do seem to have amphibious move available at the minute. So I'm going to get these US troops. The US 3rd, I'm going to get them in. I want to hold these top ports. If we have trouble in Syracuse, we'll pull people down. But I want to stop them getting into this southern area. So let's drop some Brits in. Boom. Got any more? Yeah. Right, Canadian armour I want in. And is this the last unit? Yep. This is the British 231st. We get them in. Bang. On the pot. Right. So that's all our troops from Malta. Planned. So, shall we? I don't want to make an attack. Not just yet. Not until I've got everything in place, I think. Well, let's take the turn. Are you sure? Yep. Okay. So there's quite a bit of activity. Right, so we've got the British paras in, and the US paras. The infantry. Now for some reason, these guys didn't make it. Okay. So now we've got to assess the situation. Basically the Canadians are being suffocated by these Italian forces. The Brits have got Italian forces. These symbols of fortifications have been put up. So you've got Italian forces here fortifying. It doesn't tell me what. I don't know why that's a light blue, but yeah, they're in the mountains. So they're trying to hem in the British, and notice how they've sort of they've cut off our roads between all the allies. So they've isolated all the allies in all the ports. Yeah, it's really clever. Now, I don't want to attack with the Canadians just yet. I want to get some combat supply in to put them at peak fighting fitness. So I'll drop some supplies in there, the combat supply. So now both Canadians next turn will be at their peak. Now, do I make an attack with the Americans? again, I want combat supply in before I make attack. I want to make sure their first push is a hard push, and we kick them out of this southern peninsula. So let's see what have we got. Let's supply them all. This one. Actually, I fancy the US 82nd are going to have a bit of a Barney. So I'm going to make the attack, but push the Italians up here. Canadians are battening down. The British paras. Now. Paras, come on lads. I want to make an attack with the paras. But south on these Italians. They're not fortified. And I want to really break the roads open, just in case. So let's do that. I've got plenty of British troops garrisoned in Gala. Combat supplies bad, so let's get them supplied up. They all need supply. Why supplies so bad for them? Let's supply them all up. I don't know whether there's a way to supply a whole stack. I think that's a lot now. There we go. Can we get this guy in? Amphibious? Yep. I'm sort of tempted to push him into the Canadians just to give them a bit of support, but no, I'll keep them together. I'm sure the Canadians will be fine. Okay. Now if we look at supply, we've got very little. This S button gives you sort of a colour overlay of what the supply's like, and obviously having roads secured and the ports secured, you would get it fanning across the island. But at the minute, we're in a bit of a supply situation. We're surrounded around all of the ports, so we need to break out to be able to spread the supply levels around. Now, I think I'm going to move that back to 10 and start to give us some ground support if I can. There we go. Let's take the turn. Yep. Okay. How did these attacks go? Right, the British paras. British first, attacked the Italian 28th. Attack successful. We took one loss. We disrupted the Italians. They took 2 losses. The US paras, the 82nd. Go on, boys. Yep. Attack successful. It's looking good. Ooh, more troops flooding the place. Okay. 202nd Italian infantry have been defeated. Right, now that's nearly 30 minutes, so I'm going to pause the game there on turn 4 and we'll continue it next time. Thanks for listening.